Hi everyone, so welcome to Investing for Value. So today we're going to talk about the oil prices. Obviously you've seen articles around Saudi Arabia and Russia reducing production, or at least the US wants them to reduce production. So I want to kind of put some context towards this all, so that just like makes a bit more sense, because obviously things just might not make a bit of sense right now, and you must be wondering, oh yeah, oil prices are low, but what does this mean in the context of everything? So let's try to put some context towards it. So as we can kind of see, with oil prices, they were around $60, and then they dropped to as low as $20, which was about a third of the price. And now it's at around $23. So obviously the price has dropped a lot. It's not economical for the producers, but of course consumers will be very happy when they go to the pump. Alright, so now we've basically just recently got a oil production cut from OPEC and Russia. They've agreed to a 10 million barrel cut, which is around 10% of the global supply. Global supply is around 100 million. And basically you've got 5 million barrel cut from other nations. But the problem is that even though there's a 15 million barrel cut from, OPEC, Russia, and other nations, we still have this global fuel decrease for consumption, which is about 30 million barrels decrease, which is a big problem, because when you've got a decrease in production of 15 million but a decrease in consumption of 30 million, obviously does not match up. So we can kind of see the top 10 oil producing nations around the world. You've got US, Saudi Arabia, Russia, Canada, China, Iraq, UAE, Brazil, Iran, Kuwait, and they make up the top 10. And you can see, like, with the US, they're about 19.5 million barrels of oil a day. Saudi Arabia is just slightly less than 12 million barrels a day. Russia 11.5, and in these top three make about 42% of the world's production. And you can see with Canada, they're easily half of what Russia is and of what Saudi Arabia produces. So Canada can slightly slip in there, though in the scheme of things, Saudi Arabia and Russia are by far the largest exporters around the world, because as we see here, the US basically consumes as much as it produces. But obviously if oil prices are cheaper, people are going to import oil from Saudi Arabia and Russia into the US, and oil producing companies in the US are not going to find it sustainable. They may not even be able to operate, because it's just not efficient, because the US has higher producing costs, whereas Saudi Arabia and Russia, um, they're one of the low-cost producers around the world. The reason the US has become such a large producer of oil around the world is thanks largely to the shale production. Where trying to get oil from shale is actually very expensive. So if we look at consumption, we can clearly see China is one of the largest consumers around the world in terms of oil. They only produce around 4.9 million barrels a day, whereas they need about 13.5 million barrels a day. And then you can see kind of like Russia is about 3.69 million barrels that they consume, and Saudi Arabia is around 3.33 million barrels of oil consumed a day. Obviously, they produce significantly more than they consume, at least 3 times. So if they're consuming just above 3 million, but producing over 11 million each, yeah, they have to find a home for that, and hence the price war. So as we can see, uh, back in early March, Saudi Aramco, which is the company that produces oil for Saudi Arabia, said it would increase production to 13 million barrels of oil from about 12 million. Whereas it also had Abu Dhabi saying they would increase production to about 4 million barrels of oil per day. And before these increases, the world's just not ready because obviously world production was around 100 million already, and consumption was around 100 million. So it just wasn't efficient. If any more supply came on, it would easily outweigh demand, and in yeah, all these oil producing nations have to kind of compete because they're producing too much, and there's not enough demand for it. So everyone's just going to keep undercutting the price until they can find a home for this oil. Or other countries have facilities that can store the oil, but those facilities are going to cost money. And once those oil facilities are all filled up, yeah, like you just keep producing more oil and it has no home. So if we take the current 15 million barrels of oil reduction, it leaves us around 85 million in supply. And if we take a 30 million, which is a 30 million reduction in consumption, it's about 70 million. So we've got 85 million production and 70 million in demand, which doesn't match up. So even in the current situation, I'd say there's still a bit of pressure. Obviously, once planes and uh, cars are back on the roads and they're everywhere again, consumption's going to go back up. But currently, things are they're not ideal. So you would hope that things can improve in the coming months, and that's going to push the oil price back up past at least back into the 30s or 40s. It might take a little bit longer before it's back into the 50s and 60s, though it's going to benefit a lot of companies and countries. So we can kind of see by this article here, a tenth of the oil production may be uneconomical around the world. And why is that? Well, because Venezuela and Mexico produce oil around $55 per barrel, which is significantly higher than the current price of $23. So no way do they really want to be producing much oil, but they can't halt production entirely because you can't put people out of jobs entirely. So they're going to still produce and hope that oil prices rebound, or they'll be in a world of pain. And we've got Canadian oil, which is about $45 to produce, whereas you've got Russia and Saudi Arabia, which is around $10 per barrel of oil to produce, which is significantly lower than the 23 right now. So Saudi Arabia and Russia, they can have this price war, but it's just going to be very detrimental for all the other countries around it, particularly the US, who is a big producer. And then we can kind of see with the oil history of the oil prices. Right now, it's extremely like $23. We have not had this pricing since 1998, when the price came as low as 1769. And before that, we're talking 1973. So in the past few decades, oil prices have not come down this low in a long time. That's because the demand just isn't there right now, and we know for obvious reasons why. So, but I think things will be recovering, because obviously when it came down here, it rebounded quite fast, and when it came down here, it rebounded quite fast. So obviously we can see if it's down here, it likely just rebounds over time, and we should be quite up here in the next coming months. That is, if historical trends are any indicator. Things could persist and the oil price could just be, flat for a while at this 23. I don't think it will be. I think it's going to increase as time comes, though we have to assess things. So obviously Saudi Arabia and Russia don't mind it because it's a good time for them to just take on market share for any companies or countries that are reducing supply. Yeah, so you can kind of hopefully just gives you a nice overall picture around what the situation of oil in terms of production and consumption, and why there's a lot of pressure around the price right now. But obviously if things recover, the consumption increases, hence demand increases, and catches up with supply, or if demand ever exceeds supply, we can see the price of oil kind of jump up again. And if you can kind of see that obviously what's normal is around this $50-$60 zone. So if you have any questions, feel free to let me know below, or if there's any companies or industries, also let me know. And if you just got a little bit of time, if you like and subscribe, that also is very helpful for this channel. Until then, wish everyone well in the markets, and good luck investing.